Welcome back to the Barber Coach TV. Now, have you been cutting for a few years and you feel that you have a really good skill set, but you're not as busy as you'd like to be? Well, today I'm hoping to address that and give you the tips you need to be fully booked. I hope you enjoy. So welcome back. I hope the last episode where we discussed about competitions was helpful. Again, if you have any comments or questions about previous videos, then please don't hesitate to send us a message either to the website or by contacting me direct on Instagram. I will be more than happy to help. But on to today's topic, we are going to discuss why you are not fully booked, even though you have a strong skill set and have been doing it for a while. So I have a few slides that's going to be coming up on the screen there, and we're going to be talking about each slide in depth. Now, I have posted these slides on Instagram previously, and we have discussed the 3 C's on the Barber Coach TV already, but in a very, very short format. Today I'm going to be going into it in depth and hoping we can find the reasons that you may not be getting fully booked. So, on to the first slide. Is your focus on the customer's needs or your social media likes? Now, one of the things that concerns me most about the current movement in the barbering industry is that so many people seem to be so focused on getting social media attention that they're not focusing their attention on the customers in their chair. Now, I'm not saying that you're giving potentially really bad service, but where is your focus? Is your focus on taking pictures after the haircut? Is your focus on trying to impress your followers on Instagram? Have you thought that maybe your customer doesn't want to have their picture taken? You might have given them a really good haircut, but because your focus was on potentially taking a picture of the haircut and putting it on social media, you've taken that extra time to produce the perfect cut. Then you've got to take more time taking the correct picture, getting the customer to move his head around into certain positions. Maybe they've got somewhere to be, maybe they booked their haircut at that time to suit their schedule, and maybe they have somewhere to go. Maybe they haven't got the time for you to be bending their head in places and taking pictures. Now, there's an easy way to resolve this. It's good to have a social media presence, and we will be doing videos on social media and getting the best out of it. But please don't put all your eggs in that basket. If you focus everything onto social media, you could disrupt your clientele and upset your customers before you even build a reasonable business. So why are you trying to draw attention on Instagram when you haven't even got attention from your customers? When your appointments are fully booked and your customers are coming through the door regularly and you've nailed the business side of it, then target social media. But don't try and make out that you're something on social media if your appointments are not fully booked. So the easy way of resolving this is asking the question at the start. Now, that's one thing I always try and hammer home, is communication is key. Now, ask the customer, I'd like to take a picture of this haircut and put it on social media. Do you have the time for me to do that at the end of the haircut? Is it going to be convenient for you? If it's a problem, then please say, it's just an idea that I have that could be beneficial for my social media, but if it's not suitable for you, then I have no problem at all with not doing it. It's just about that relationship and that communication. And the customer can then say, yeah, I'm in no rush, no problem at all. I've even had customers say to me, oh great, if you're going to take a picture of it, I know for a fact that you're going to take your time and do a good job. That's not that I don't do good jobs, but the truth is, if you know you put it on social media, there's a very high chance you're going to take that extra 10 minutes to perfect it. So some would appreciate that. I've had customers saying, oh, I'm going to take a picture of this haircut and put it on your Instagram, because they like that, and that's fine. But is that your focus, or is giving your customer your undivided attention your focus? Is giving your customer the best experience your focus? Is giving your customer the best of your service to make sure they come back and come back regularly and only to come back to you? That's where your focus needs to be. Once that's sorted, then worry about social media. Good customer service skills will grow your business faster than good cutting skills. Now, I have seen this proven time and time again. And I've mentioned this in YouTube vlogs, in previous videos on the Barber Coach TV, but I have had so many barbers work for me over the years, and not all of them are naturally gifted with cutting hair. But I do believe anybody that works hard enough can become good enough. But that doesn't mean it's going to come as easy for some as it does for others. But although these barbers may not be naturally gifted, their customer service skills have been fantastic. They've been confident people, they've been good communicators, they've presented themselves professionally to their customers, and they have become fully booked faster than some of the more talented barbers that I've had work for me. And that's the truth of it. You've got to think, if a customer, put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you walk into a barbershop or walk into any business that delivers a service, and you have the service and it's average to above average. I'm not talking about below average service here, but I'm talking about average to above average, but not necessarily fantastic. But they give you great customer service, they give you a great experience, you feel comfortable, and say the price is fair. Or you walk into another business, their skill set is extremely high, but the experience that they're offering isn't quite up to scratch. The communication skills are not very good. You don't necessarily feel that comfortable in their environment. Are you going to go back? If you go to a barber that's delivering a fair and tidy haircut, but a fantastic service and experience, or you go to a barber with a fantastic haircut delivery, but not a great experience, which one are you going to prefer to go back to? There's more of a chance you're going to give the first barber, the one that gives you a better experience, but not necessarily the better haircut, over the more skillful barber, just because you didn't enjoy the environment. So this is what you've got to be looking at. You might have fantastic skills, you might be extremely talented, but what is your communication like? What experience is your customers having, and how comfortable are they sitting in your barbershop? So let's have a look at this and see if we can address it and offer some tips and advice on how you can improve that and improve your customers' experience and get more people booking in. So we'll have a look at the next slide. So, do your customers like you? The customer is more likely to return if they like you. So it is repeating slightly what I've just mentioned, but rather than talking about the experience, let's talk about the relationship. Now, if you go to a barbershop, you sit in the barber's chair, and you just get that vibe from your barber that they're a likeable person, you enjoy the conversation, you enjoy the overall experience, and you like how they interact, you like how they present themselves, and you start enjoying the conversation, you enjoy that person's company. You might leave with a dead average haircut, but you're still going to go back because you've grown to like that person. And at the end of the day, people support people. So yes, people come and look for a service, but if they like the person delivering that service, you're more likely to want to support that person because you get to like them. But like I mentioned in the last slide, if you go into a barber who's fantastic at cutting hair, but he's not a likeable person, there's no conversation, the personality is dead, there is awkward silence at times, and he's just not giving off that friendly vibe. You know, his body language is closed, he's not very welcoming, but he gives you the best haircut you've ever had. But your other barber, you enjoy his company, you enjoy the conversation, you know, his body language is more open and accepting, you feel much more comfortable in his environment. Where are you going to go? So it is slightly layering over the last slide, but it's still very, very relevant when you bring it down to the personality of the barber. So not just about the overall experience, which we'll cover in detail shortly, but what communication vibes are you giving off? Are you likable? Are you friendly with your customers? You know, are you considering their needs, and are you considering if they are comfortable? Are you watching their body language? And are you adapting your communication to suit their vibe? Because sometimes it's not all about making best friends. Sometimes it's not all about creating in-depth conversations and getting to know each other. But it is about understanding your customers and allowing them to like your service and like your environment. So if you feel that the customer booked in your chair doesn't want conversation, if you feel that maybe they're not interacting as much as you'd like, but rather than forcing them to come out of their shell and try to speak more, maybe realise this person likes a more quiet haircut, and then be calmer, be more peaceful, and make less conversation, but still show the customer you really care about delivering a good quality haircut, and just allow them to feel comfortable in your environment. So it's about gauging. It's not necessarily about being the most likable person in the world with regards to a flamboyant personality. It's being likable based on the client in your chair. So if the vibe gives off that client wants a conversation, give them the conversation. Listen to what they want to talk about. Listen to their daily problems and where they're going on holiday, and sound interested and make them feel comfortable when they're talking. But if you find that you're trying to steal a conversation from your customer and they don't want to give it, then realise that early on and stop trying to force it, but still be calm, still be peacefully spoken, still be polite and understanding of how they want the service to go, and being aware of that and allowing them to like that by understanding their needs will get those customers coming back. Because at the end of the day, customers book in for a haircut. And we're talking about new customers here now. We're not talking about customers we've had for years. So if you've had a customer coming for years and they come back regularly and you have a certain, encounter that's quite common with that customer, don't try and change that now just because you've watched this video and you think you need to change who you are as a person. But we're talking about new customers now. We're talking being conscious of someone new coming through the door and making sure that person comes back. Because although customers book in for a haircut, they will talk to others about the experience. Now, most customers don't know what a fantastic haircut is or what a good haircut is. They might know what a bad haircut is, or they might not like the haircut on their head because it might not be the way that they like it to be. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad haircut. It might be the same haircut that you give 500 other people. Well, if you've given it to 500 other people, then you should be fully booked. But if you've given it to a lot of other customers, but one customer potentially doesn't like it, that doesn't mean it's a bad haircut. It is about communication and understanding what the customer wants. But if the experience is good, even though the haircut might not be perfect, they will talk to others about that. So what you got to think about is, if you're just doing average haircuts and all your competition are doing average or good haircuts, then why should they come to you instead of go to other barbers? You've got to be giving something more that's going to make that customer want to tell people, oh gosh, so-and-so does this, or this barbershop, they do that. It's so much more convenient, because they won't know the difference between a 6 out of 10, an 8 out of 10, and a 9 out of 10 haircut. They might know the difference between 3 out of 10 and a 9 out of 10, but for them, a good haircut is a good haircut. So you don't necessarily have to be the best barber in your county to be the busiest, but you do have to offer the best experience to stand out from the rest. And we'll discuss that in more depth shortly. So you need to ask yourself, are you giving your customers the experience that you'd expect to get if you went into a barbershop? And I sometimes have to do this. If I get complacent, or say I've already done 10 haircuts, I'm getting tired, I haven't had my lunch, I've got a new customer booked in, they're in the chair, I automatically just want to go through the motions like I do with all my other regular customers who I've known for years. But I've got to stop and remind myself, wait, this is a new customer, it's their first experience. It might not be my first experience of new customers, but it's their first experience in my chair. So I've got to stop and think, if I was them, how would I want this service to go? How would I want this experience to be? And then I've got to stop and think, right, okay, so how do I now need to go back to professional barber and not friendly barber, and be conscious of the experience and their environment to make sure that they get the best possible experience. Be careful not to just go through the motions. And I have done it, and this is how I've learned from it, and this is how I'm able to tell you what not to do to save you making some of the mistakes that I made. So as soon as you see a new customer booked in, or if you're a walk-in barbershop and a customer comes through that door that you don't know, then you've got to stop and think, right, how would I want this experience to go if I was that customer? And you make sure you deliver that for them. And like I mentioned in the last slide, if that experience is good, they will tell other people. If the haircut is really bad, they might tell other people. But as long as you're making sure that your haircuts are average to above average, then they'll be talking about the experience and not the haircut. And if you are signed up to the Barber Coach TV, then there shouldn't be any excuses. If you watch all the haircuts in our categories, then hopefully you will be cutting to a standard that's above average. But if you're cutting to a high standard and you're not fully booked and you don't know why, then maybe you want to look at the experience that you're offering rather than the haircut. Okay, now to the answers. So how do you improve your overall customer's experience? And that's by following the 3 C's. The 3 C's, they stand for comfort, communication, and connection. So let's have a look at the 3 C's now, and hopefully you might spot certain things that you're missing in your service that you can then add and improve to give your customers the best experience. So comfort. Now I'd like to think that these 3 C's are in the right order of how it would be for the customer. So as they come into your shop, the first thing that has to be right for them is the comfort aspect, the first C. So in this, we've got pleasant atmosphere. So the point I mean is, it's pointless worrying about your connection to the customer if you haven't already given them a good comfort experience. It's pointless worrying about building a connection if your communication is bad. So let's get the comfort right. Then once the comfort's in place and they're already happy in your environment, then we can improve the communication. And once the communication is good, you automatically build a connection. It has to be in that order. So let's go back to it and let's cover these subjects in detail. So the pleasant atmosphere. When they walk into your shop, what is the atmosphere like? What are the conversations taking place? How loud is your music? What type of music is playing? Is there bad language being thrown around? Are the conversations potentially inappropriate? So these are the things you've got to be conscious of, especially with new customers, especially with parents bringing in their children, with the older clientele, religious clientele. I'd probably say there's more people you're going to offend these days than not. So let's be conscious of everything taking place in your shop when you have new customers coming through the door. Refreshments. Are there refreshments on offer? Now, I'm not saying you have to have refreshments on offer to stand out from all the other barbers, but it'll definitely help. We don't offer alcoholic drinks or teas and coffees in our shop. Our barbershop's a very fast-paced barbershop. There's a lot of barbers working there and there's a lot of customers in and out. So we haven't really got the time to be running around making teas and coffees. And in a barbershop, the customers are only in there 15 to 30 minutes if they're just having general haircuts. There's little bits of hair flying everywhere. Do you really want your hair landing in the customer's coffee? So if you feel that you've got a customer that's going to be waiting for a long period of time, then teas and coffees would be ideal. If you want to give away alcoholic drinks and you make sure that all your licenses are in order, that's also entirely up to you. But at least have your average refreshments on offer. I know barbers that offer cans of pop, but there needs to be water on offer at least, especially in the summer, hot day, customer comes in, if they can see that there's a water cooler there, they can grab a free water, that's already going to be a good start to their experience. But if you have got long waiting times and you've got apprentices there that have the time to do teas and coffees, then that would be a really nice touch. So I don't want you to think now that you have to bring in refreshments to be a better barber. I'm not saying that, but be conscious of it. If the service you're offering means that the refreshments might make it a better experience for your customer, then definitely consider it. Like I mentioned, if they're waiting for a long period of time, that will definitely help that experience be better. Clean and safe salon. If you're walking into a barbershop and you can see that there's hair all over the floor, you know that hasn't been brushed up for a good few haircuts per barber. There's neck strips and tissues on the floor. There's cables lying around everywhere. Are you going to feel comfortable walking around? I'd automatically feel uncomfortable. I wouldn't really want to walk in there if I'm honest. Even if they are the nicest guys in the world and they deliver the best haircut. If my early experience stops me feeling comfortable, then it's going to be hard for me to want to stay and finish the whole service. So you really got to be conscious of that. I understand sometimes if it's really, really busy and you finish one haircut and you've got another customer you've got to get in the chair and you've only got the time to give it a quick tidy up. I understand that happens, but at least give it a quick tidy up. At least make sure that the basics are in order, that there's no cables lying around on the floor that a customer could trip over. There's no spillages that's not being mopped up. Get the basics done right. I understand that it's not going to be immaculate at times, especially on your busiest days, but you have to make sure it's safe. You have to make sure that the tools you're using have been cleaned. You know, if I was to sit in a chair and the gown chucked over me was dirty or smelling, and I could see the tools have got hair in them before they apply the comb, for instance, through my hair, and there's still hair on it, it's not been brushed down, or I don't see the barber clipper side in anything, I'm going to start feeling uncomfortable. So before I've even had the haircut, I'm already feeling uncomfortable in the salon. So these are the things you've got to be conscious of, because your customers are going to be thinking it. So convenient location. Now, if you're working for someone, this is out of your control. So I understand this doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, but if you're a shop owner or you're a barber that's looking to open a shop for the first time, a good location can make all the difference to you being the busiest barber in your area. If you've got busy barbershops in city centres and people have to pay for parking, walk quite a distance to get there, you know, it's generally a bit of an effort to get to the barbershop, and then they find a barbershop with free parking, easy access, easy to get to, very little walking, and they're still offering a good service, then where are you going to book? And the customers are going to be thinking that. So we have an industrial unit outside of the busy town centre, so you can drive to it, there's free parking outside, it's not a busy road or a busy area, it's an industrial estate, so there is passing trade, there's definitely traffic in and out, but not like city centre traffic, and we've drawn people to us by having good reputation, by having a good social media presence, and through word of mouth and through offering good service, then people have found us and they keep coming back to us. And once they found us once and they realise how convenient the location is, they want to tell everyone, and that's why new people keep coming. So a lot of barbers will consider putting a barber shop in a town centre where there's a lot of footfall, but footfall doesn't necessarily mean haircuts. People who want a good haircut will look and they will travel, and they will look for convenience of driving there. A lot of people who are walking past the shop have other things to do. They might be going other places, they've got other chores, and the chance of them thinking, oh, I need a haircut, I'll pop in here, is a lot less likely than someone sitting at home thinking, right, I need a haircut, where can I go that's convenient? So that's definitely something we're thinking about. A good waiting area. Now, you don't really want customers standing up in the shop waiting for their haircut. This is not ideal. You want chairs that's comfortable, so if they're sat there for 15 minutes, that they're feeling comfortable physically as they're waiting. You want to try and make sure that there's plenty of room between each customer. Now, this is easier to do now after the COVID pandemic because people have had to make distancing arrangements. So now the distancing arrangements don't necessarily have to be in place. I still think that it's worth considering keeping some form of distance between each customer so that they can sit there comfortably in their little atmosphere, in their little environment, and not feel like they're touching or intruding on someone else's space. And a booking system. Now, again, if you're a walk-in barbershop and you rely on walk-in trade, then that's absolutely fine. If you've ticked every other box that we've mentioned, I'm still very, very confident you're going to get busier. But if you are looking to get appointments and you do want to get people booking in, then look at getting a good booking system. Now, I personally use Nearcut. I was one of the first barbers to have Nearcut. I was basically a guinea pig for them when it was originally created. And I helped the owners and the creators develop it to suit barbershops and to suit barbers and to make their lives a lot easier as well as their customers. So I do recommend Nearcut. It's what I use. I'm not getting no commission for it. I don't get no shares or anything in it, but I'm recommending it because I believe in it. I really, really do believe in it. But there's loads of other great booking systems out there, and I know barbers who have had the investment to create their own booking system, and that's fantastic if you can afford to do it. But if you're working on a budget and you want to have a good booking system that's going to be easy for you and easy for your customers, then I'd highly recommend Nearcut. And it allows you to organise your day better. It allows you to book breaks in advance. It allows you to book days off and actually have a good work-life balance. But it makes life so much more convenient for your customers. They can see exactly when your availability is, they can see exactly what your prices are and where you are before even leaving their house. So I would really, really recommend getting a good booking system in place. So that's a few points that you can look at for improving the comfort experience for your customers. Now let's look at communication. So communication is only suitable if comfort is already in place, like I've already mentioned. And the first area of communication is acknowledgement as the customer comes through the door. When your customer walks into your barbershop, whether he's booked in with you or booked in with your trainee, it's still important that you acknowledge them. Because what you've got to think is, they might be booked in with the barber next door to you today. But if you're acknowledging them regularly, if they're feeling familiar now in your environment because you've acknowledged them, you've been happy to communicate with them, you're delivering a good presence and you're making them feel comfortable, then if that other barber is fully booked and not available, then they're going to book in with you. But if you're the barber that thinks, oh, that customer's not with me, I'm not going to bother saying anything, I'm too busy anyway, that's their problem, then when that other barber isn't available, who are they going to book with? Well, they're not going to book with a person that's never made any effort to acknowledge them. So if there's no other barbers in there that they do feel familiar with, they'll just wait for the other barber to come back. So consider this, every customer is a potential customer to you. Every person who walks through that door, whether they're booking with other barbers, they could potentially be sat in your chair one day. Whether it's the one time or whether it becomes regular. That's money that could be made if you make sure that you give them acknowledgement and you give them a good experience when they're in the shop, regardless if they're even sat in your chair. And the other aspect is, regardless of making money or stealing customers, if you were a customer walking into a barbershop, you've been there for the first time, you don't know how the system works with them as you come through the door, no one's acknowledged you, there's a little chair sat there and you're thinking, all right, I'll just sit here and wait someone says something, you immediately feel uncomfortable. So just by not using the first point of the communication slide, you've automatically made the customer feel uncomfortable, completely disregarding everything in the comfort side. Just because you fail on the first point of communication. It goes hand in hand. So I would always recommend when someone comes through the door, always make a point of saying, good morning, hope you're okay, or do you know who you're booked with? Or what's the name please? And then double checking, oh yeah, you're in with Daniel today, take a seat, you won't be long. Or yes, you're with me next, I'm going to be about 5 minutes, we'll let you take a seat, or help yourself to a glass of water, I'll be with you shortly. So it's really important you acknowledge them, and it's really important that you let them know if you're slightly running behind. Because if they have a phone call to make, or they're in a bit of a rush and they have something to post or an errand to run, now they were going to do it after the haircut. But if you say to them, oh look, I'm so sorry, so I'm running 50 minutes behind, but if you'd like to take a seat, I'll be as quick as I can. And they say, well actually, if it's going to be 50 minutes, do you mind if I pop back? I've got something to do. And it's allowed them to solve a problem because you've communicated that could have potentially got a lot worse and a lot harder for that customer by not saying anything. Because if you don't say anything and you don't acknowledge them and you just leave them sit there not knowing how long you're going to be, and they're thinking, oh goodness me, I've got something to do, I've got somewhere to be, I need to make that call, I hope this person's going to be long, they're going to start feeling uncomfortable again. So communication, again, if it's not correct, you're going to send people back into that uncomfortable zone. Communication, talk to them, let them know what's happening, allow them to then decide what they need to do with regards to that waiting time. If they can wait or if they need to get something done, then it's up to them then to make that decision, and you've given that to them, which allows them then to feel comfortable and in control. So once they're in the shop and you've acknowledged them and you finish with your previous customer, and it's time to let that customer have their turn, and you welcome them into a clean and hygienic chair, and you've gummed them up, then it's important to listen to their needs politely. Not being overconfident, not acting like you know everything. You may look at that customer and know straight away what they need, but it's important to let that customer get their point across to make them feel like they've communicated what they want. Now, a lot of customers don't know what to ask for, and they may feel uncomfortable showing you a photo. So if you're not sure exactly what they're asking for, say to them, do you have a photo that you may have seen that you could show me? Or would it help you if I maybe brought a few photos up for you to have a look at to see exactly what you're looking for, so I can best understand what you're thinking of? But be polite about it. Even if the customer's saying the wrong things, even if the terminology is wrong and you know what they're asking for isn't realistic, still be polite about it. You may be 10 years in, you may have won loads of awards, but you can start rubbing people up the wrong way if you're a know-it-all and you make the customer feel like their knowledge is inferior to yours. They are paying you, it's their hair you're working with, and you have to show compassion to them as they're sat in your chair. And again, I can come to you and give this advice because I have made those mistakes and I'm learning from them, and I'm hoping that I can help you avoid them. But I had a customer sit in my chair once And let's make this clear, I lost the customer, and he was coming to me weekly. Every single week he was booking in for a skin fade and a trim on top. And he booked in one week and he said, right, I've decided I'm going to shave it all off. I want a number 4 on top and just a high fade on the sides. And this was a few years ago, so I was still learning, I was arrogant. My cutting skill set was really high, I had won lots of awards, but my attitude was wrong. And I was full of pride and arrogance. And I thought I was doing the customer a favour by saying this, but I wasn't polite and I wasn't compassionate to their needs and their feelings. And I said to them, why have you booked in with me for a 4 on top and a high fade on the sides? Any barber could have done that. You could have booked in with any barber and saved yourself a fortune. You know, I'm an award-winning barber. You pay a lot more for my services. You might as well have a really good haircut, make the most of the length you have on top. Let me add some texture. You know, I understand you have the same haircut every week, but if you want to fancy a change, let me really apply my skills and give you something that's worth paying for. But how rude is that? I felt like I was making the customer feel, no, you come into an award-winning barbershop here, you deserve an award-winning service. But that wasn't what he was getting. He wanted a number 4 on top and a high fade on the sides. That's what he wanted. That's what he'd been thinking about. And that's what he had decided. And I basically said to him, your ideas are stupid. Why would you come here and pay a premium for a haircut off me when you could have a haircut like that off any barber? If you're booking it with me, you need to have a special. And then I was just an idiot. I was an absolute idiot. And I was bang out of order. So the customer said, all right, yeah, no problem. Okay, well, you do what you think's best then. And I gave him the haircut that I thought was best, and I never seen him again. And it took about 3 months, and I thought something's not right here. And I didn't even remember the conversation, because I was doing haircut after haircut, and he was a regular customer. I wasn't conscious about how I was presenting myself to this customer. I was just going through the motions. And I messaged him, I said, hi mate, I hope everything's okay. I haven't seen you for a while, and I'm really concerned I may have done something to offend you, or was anything wrong with the last haircut? And I was aware at this point I'd been a dick. So I said, look, I know sometimes I can be a bit of a dick, and I'm really, really sorry if I've done or said anything that may have offended you, but I'd really like you to be honest with me so I can learn from it. And he texted back and he said to me, yeah, I felt uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable because I wanted a certain sort of haircut, and you made me feel like that my idea was a stupid idea, and you were above delivering that sort of haircut. So I thought, well, I'll go somewhere that wants to give me the haircut that I want. And I thought, yeah, you're right. Silly me. And I deserve to lose that customer. So I want you to learn from my mistake and don't make the same mistake. Don't be arrogant. Always be polite and always consider the customer's needs. Use simple terminology. A customer doesn't know what a graduated drop fade with vertical layers and horizontal. They don't know what all that means. They don't know what, feathering and taper meshing, and they don't, they want to know, is it high, is it low, is it short? Is the top going to go this way? Is the top going to come down? Keep it absolutely simple in terminology. So when the customer's asking for something, or you were trying to explain to the customer what you're going to give based on their requirements, keep the wording simple. So if they want a high skin fade and they just want a side parting and it going to the left, don't go saying, okay, so I'm going to do a high graduated fade with a side part, pompadour, layered in. Just keep it simple. Say, okay, no problem at all, mate. So do you want me to take the fade here or here? And you want it to be blended up from there? Do you want like a tight blend? Do you want a wide blend? Do you want the hair sitting this way? Shall I give you a part in where the hair comes? And show them and put the hair into position so they can visualize it and understand what you're saying. Don't give them professional jargon because you're going to lose them in the first 3 seconds. And again, what's that going to do? It's going to make them feel uncomfortable because they don't know what they're having, because they don't know what they've asked for. So always remember, keep it simple. Don't use technical jargon. Manage expectations honestly. Now this is something that every barber is going to face probably on a daily basis if they're getting regular new customers. The customer's going to come in with a photograph. They're going to say, can I have it looking like this? I think that hairstyle looks great. Will it suit me? Don't tell them what they want to hear. Tell them the truth. If their hair type isn't going to produce that style, if maybe they're receding or they haven't got the thickness that they need to have that style, if their hair texture is different, You have to tell them, because even though you may think, oh, I could cut it into that shape, it won't necessarily look like that, but I can give him roughly that sort of shape. Then you have to tell them that. Don't just go, yeah, no problem, I've got you, because to them then, they think they're having their haircut on their phone or in the picture. You've got to explain to them, look, I can give you that type of fade, I can cut the hair on top into that length, but because of your hair type, and I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, because you're thinning or because you're receding, I would say because your hair type is different to that person, it won't look exactly like that. But yours will look different because of such and such. Yours might not look as straight as that because your hair's a bit more textured, or your hair's slightly curly, that hair's poker straight, or the other way around. Just explain to them the truth, because then you've managed their expectations. If you say to them at the start, yes, no problem, and you know it's not going to be identical, they are 100% going to be disappointed. If you say to them at the start, look, it's going to be hard to make it identical because your hair type is different to that person, but I can do a similar fade and I can cut it into a similar shape. You'll be able to style it in the same direction, but it just won't look exactly the same based on the hair type. Then at the end, if it still looks great, they're going to be really happy because they know that it's not going to be exactly the same. If they're asking for a very unrealistic haircut and you explain to them, look, I don't think this is going to work, I don't think it's going to suit you, but they still say, okay, go ahead with it, you've got two options. You say to the customer, look, I really don't want to do this haircut because I know it's not going to suit you and I don't want you to look bad leaving this shop because that's a walk-in advertisement to my business. Or you say to them, and I wouldn't recommend this one, okay, I can try it if you really want me to, but please, accept that I've said that it's not going to suit you. So if you're not happy with it at the end, you can't blame me for it, and please don't tell anybody else that you had it in this barbershop. But let's be honest, that's going to be, you're setting yourself up for a fall. Be honest with the customer and go, look, I promise you this isn't going to suit you. You need to keep more depth in this section. You need to keep longer hair at the front, or whatever the scenario is. Explain to them why they need to do it differently to avoid them making a mistake. But you have to be honest with them, because at least if you're honest and it's not good, they are prepared. If you tell them, yes, no problem, and it's not good, they will be disappointed. So you have to manage their expectations. Always remain confident and calm during the service. If you are a newer barber, or even an experienced barber, and you started delivering a haircut and halfway through you're thinking, this isn't quite going the way that I'd like, or his hair isn't quite sitting the way that I thought it was going to sit, don't start panicking. Don't start going, oh crap, or flipping neck, or, do you know what I mean? And don't fluster, be calm, be confident, continue the process, trust the method, you know how to cut hair, keep going. Because I guarantee you, as you get to the end and you followed the steps and you've connected the blends and you styled the hair, it won't look as bad as it does halfway through when you think it's looking bad. If you do make a massive mistake, if the guard comes off and you take a chunk out of the fade, still don't panic. It's up to you at this point whether you want to continue fading, hoping that you can blend it in. The calmer you are, the customer will look at you, even if he hears something or hears that the guard's come off and he's looked at you and you're calm, going, oh, that's fine, Doris, I can fade this out. The guard did come off, I do apologise, but that's fine, I can fade this out. If you're confident, they'll be confident. If you start doing panicking or facial expressions, they're going to start panicking. If the customer hasn't noticed it, if you've done it and the guard just come loose and you've gone a little bit further than you should have, and you've managed to clip it back on and the customer hasn't noticed, don't go making a problem out of it. Don't go starting to worry the customer by saying, just carry on with the haircut, finish the fade. Because by the time you've taken all the hair in that section away evenly, a small section a little bit shorter than the other probably won't be that obvious. So just trust the method, follow the process, and if at the end it's not fixable, then you come clean. But at least then it's at the end of the haircut and the customer hasn't had 15 minutes of panicking. You come to the end of the haircut and you say, look, Mr. Jones, as I was doing the back, the guard came loose and I've taken one section a little bit shorter, I've blended it all in, it still looks okay, most people won't notice it, unless it's extremely obvious. Then say to them, look, I'm really, really sorry, the guard did come off you, I have made a little bit of a line in your hair. I'm not going to charge you for this haircut. You've always got that get out of jail card. They might not be chuffed, but if they've not charged them, they're not going to be tamping. If you've given them a bad haircut, or if you've made a massive mistake and you still try charging them, then that's really bad practice. Sometimes you've got to just take a hit. Money is not that important. It's better to try and save that clientele, save that regular customer, keep them coming back, make them feel like you've tried your best, rather than forcing money out of them, and then they at that point they're going to say, oh well, I'm not going back there. They'll pay and they won't come back. But if you say, look, I messed up, I've taken this bit low, and say like this, I've taken it higher than I would have liked, so they know you knew better or you've made a mistake. If you don't know you're making the mistakes, then they might not come back because you're not acknowledging the mistakes you're making. But I don't want to disregard everything I've already said. If you're still very likable, if the experience is still very good, if you have still communicated successfully and they've been comfortable in your shop, even if you have made a mistake, I guarantee you they probably will still come back. But offer them the free haircut. Don't try and force money out of them if you know you've done wrong. That's not fair. That's not cool. And you wouldn't like it. But at the end of the haircut, if it is obvious that and it wasn't fixable, then just say, look, there was a little section there that I went a bit too short. I only realised it halfway through the haircut. I thought I'd finish the haircut and see if I could blend it all in. Unfortunately, it's still shorter than I would have liked. I'm very sorry. I'm not going to charge you for this haircut. And then when you show them the mirror and things, there's a very good chance it probably won't look as bad as you've made them think that it was. And the fact they've had a free haircut, they probably won't care. But be honest, be calm, come clean, but not during the haircut. Because as soon as you start panicking during the haircut, that customer is going to start panicking. And at that point, if you've made the mistake, you've made the mistake. So it doesn't matter then if you upset them at the end or upset them at the start. They're going to be upset anyway. But at least you can make the experience better by not showing them and by remaining calm. So while they're sat there, you can make that issue look better. So when you do deliver the news to them, at least then they haven't been panicking for 10 minutes and you had a good chance of fixing it the best you can. But if you tell them straight away, you show them straight away, and you panic straight away, they're going to be disappointed. So just remain calm. And the last point in communication is being aware of the customer's body language. Now this still applies in communication because you will pick up on the body language as you're trying to speak to them. So I did mention this slightly in the last category, but if the customer is sat in your chair and you can see they're not looking you in the eye when you're trying to talk to them, they're uncomfortable, they want to keep their head down, their hands like this means they do not want a conversation. If when you ask them questions, they go, yeah, that's enough. Yeah, no, that's fine, thank you. They don't want a conversation. If they sit in the chair and they are, oh, you had a good day today? Oh, yeah, be busy? They want a conversation. If they're happy, if they're watching what you're doing, they want to know what's going on. If they're hands down, eyes down, they don't want to know what's going on. Just be aware of that. That doesn't mean then, because you're not having a flat out conversation, that they're not going to be happy. They don't want a conversation. That's what's going to make them happy. This is why you have to be conscious of body language, because communication verbally doesn't always give you the vibes that you need, because they might be answering you every time you question them. So you think, oh, they're enjoying the conversation. But actually their body language is saying, stop asking me questions. So just be aware of that. And then that will add to the comfort of your customer's experience. And the last C, connection. Now, if your comfort is in place and the customer's had a really good start to their experience, the communication is good and the customer feels comfortable in your chair, the interaction's been positive, and they are starting to like you, like I mentioned in previous slides, then you build a connection. And once you've built that connection, it's going to be a lot harder for that customer to go anywhere else. So how do you build that connection? Appreciation. Gaining appreciation of your customer and showing them appreciation for bringing you the business, for being your client, for sitting in your chair. Show them appreciation. Say to them, thank you very much for booking in today. I'm really grateful you booked in with me today. That's showing them appreciation. And when they gain appreciation from you because they've had a really good, comfortable experience, because the communication has been really good and you've asked them questions about their haircut so they know you care about what you give them, then they're going to appreciate your service. And that appreciation is a two-way thing that adds and builds connection. Respect. Showing the customer respect. Not saying to a 60-year-old gentleman, You all right, pal, your turn. All right, boy, come and take a seat. That's not respectful. Good afternoon, sir, you ready? Hello, Mr. Jones, it's your turn. Would you like to come and take a seat? That's respectful. Just things like that, little changes. I know most of your clients might be 18. And if they're all 18 and they all call each other boy, and you think you can get away with calling them boy and they prefer that, that's great. But you can't call Mr. Jones boy, who's come in a shirt and tie and he's over 50, over 40. Well, I'm 36. If I was to go into a barbershop and a 22-year-old barber says, all right, boy, come here. I'm going to be like, what? Sorry, you talking to me? I wouldn't like it. If I've been there 3 or 4 times, and I know, I've been there 3 or 4 times, he gives me a good haircut, I've had a really good service, then I come in one day, he goes, all right, boy? I'll be like, oh. Because then I've built a connection. I'm comfortable with that person now. The atmosphere slightly changes, the behaviour slightly changes. But for new customers, you have to show respect. When you show them respect, they'll show you respect. Trust. And again, you build trust by getting good communication, managing their expectations, being honest with them. Unfortunately, I don't think that haircut's going to suit you. It's not going to work for you because your hair type, excuse me, because this section of your hair grows in this direction and this section of hair grows in that direction. Because of where your crown is, that bit isn't going to sit right for you. You need to do it like this. They will then start to trust your knowledge and your professionalism and your expertise. If you ask them to explain what they want, if you listen to what they're asking for, if you double check certain sections, so as you're cutting the hair, so for instance, you'd be going, right, okay, so you wear it this way, yeah, no problem, so we're going to pull it in this direction now, so we'll see, if I bring it into the shape of the style, it's going to sit roughly there, is that correct? Yeah, so there's this much hair then left behind. Do you think if I take that much off, it'll still sit all right for you? Is that where you want it sitting? Yeah, that's fine, cut it. Right, let's check it. Is that sitting better? Yeah, that's sitting better. You're building trust. Because you're getting them to acknowledge that what you're doing is what they want, and then they start to feel comfortable. It always comes back to feeling comfortable. And comfort is start, middle, and finish. They all connect, but it all comes down to the customer feeling comfortable in your chair. So once the customer has been coming to you regularly, they're comfortable in your environment, they have a good experience, you communicate well, the connection starts to build, they become loyal. It is very, very hard for a customer who has made a connection to a barber to go elsewhere. And I've seen this, I've even seen barbers rush, mess someone's hair up terribly, and that customer's booked back in 3 weeks later because at this point they are loyal to that person. Now, I would still say the experience they had wasn't good enough. The customer deserved more. But because all the other experiences have been good, and the overall comfort and connection has been good, even when a mistake has been made, that customer will remain loyal. Satisfaction. If the customer is always satisfied by the service you give them, if they're satisfied by the comfort in your environment, if they're satisfied by your communication and the delivery of their haircut, again, it's automatic to feel connected to that barber. It's harder to want to try someone else when you know, oh, I get it really good to you and I like how things are done. I like that environment. I feel really comfortable there. I'm very satisfied with the service that I get. I feel connected to that business and to that barber. And again, that does go hand in hand with loyalty, but it has to come with satisfaction. If the comfort isn't satisfactory, if the communication isn't satisfactory, then you're not going to get a connection. But when the person is satisfied, then you will start to build a connection. And then ultimately, connection can lead to friendship. A lot of my customers have now become my friend. Because they've remained loyal, because they've been supporting me for years and have been coming to me regularly, I now have a friendship with them. I learn things from them. They learn things from me. And in life, it's all about who you know. So the better connection you build with more people, the more opportunities you're going to get, the more people you're going to meet, the more things you're going to learn. Whether it's about property, whether it's about investments, whether it's about jobs for other people. I've had a lot of my customers will say, oh gosh, so-and-so's looking for a job. Do you know someone who's looking for staff? And there's a very good chance I will. And then I can connect people together because I've built friendships and because I've got loyal customers and because we've had good communication and we've got to know each other. You build relationships. And if they're your friend, then they're definitely going nowhere else. And if they're your friend, they're going to tell everybody about you. So the friendship isn't always something that's going to come from that connection, but it is something that does happen quite regularly. And if you've got a customer that wants to sit in your chair once a month, every single month, and doesn't want to go anywhere else, and when you bump into them in a supermarket or you bump into them on holiday, there's 100% going to be a connection there. You're not going to ignore each other. Some people might, but the majority of the time, you're going to want to speak to them. You're going to want to say hello. You're going to feel like, oh, that's so-and-so. You feel like there's a connection there. Oh, that's my friend. Do you know what I mean? No, I know him. He's my mate. But no, he's only ever booked in for haircuts. You've never gone for a pint together. But because you've had an unlimited amount of great conversation, you've got to know each other. The truth is, most customers will say more to their barber than they'll say to their partner. I know it's not always the case, but like, especially if you've got younger clientele who don't have partners, they might not want to tell their parents certain stuff that's going on in their lives. They might not want to tell certain friends because they might judge them or make fun of them. But the barber who's professional, who is respectful, who is polite, who listens, communicates well, then that customer has a chance to connect and communicate to someone, maybe let off some steam, maybe talk about something that's been bugging them. I've had loads of opportunities in that barbershop to support people with mental health issues, or to support people with problems they have in life. And when they're leaving, they're saying, oh, thank you so much for that chat. You should be a psychiatrist. I feel so much better now after leaving here. And that makes me feel so fulfilled in my role. Not only booked in for was a haircut, but then the communication allowed him to feel connected. He felt comfortable to a point that he was able to open up. And now I've not just given him a haircut, I potentially, arguably changed his life. Or at least given them motivation to face whatever it is they're facing. Or to feel better about whatever it is that's making them feel down. And if you've got the 3 C's in place, even if your cutting isn't great, you are definitely going to increase your clientele. Because if customers come to your shop because they're comfortable there, because the facility's good, because it's easy to park potentially, because you've covered the 3 C's and you communicate well and you listen to the customer and you connect and you talk about stuff and you respect them and you make them feel good in your chair. If you take one sideburn up higher than the other, they're not going to go somewhere else. They're going to come back. So if your cutting skills are great and you don't understand why you're not fully booked, but maybe other barbers who aren't as good as you are fully booked, you want to look at your 3 C's. And if you get them right, I promise you, you will start booking up. So I hope that's helped. If you have any questions, please get in touch. I will be condensing this down to a shorter video to put out on YouTube, but I promise you the subscribers to the Barber Coach TV are going to get more value for their money and you're going to get these subjects discussed in depth. So I really appreciate you subscribing to the Barber Coach TV. I really hope that you're getting something out of it. If you're not, please let me know because I want to improve this to help you improve your barbering. Thank you very much.